Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you're not going to find news and rumours about a new iPhone that's coming out in 6 months' time, but you will find conversations about how technology is transforming your business, your industry, your life, and indeed world. So wherever you are listening in the world to today's podcast, I invite you to join a conversation and turn your challenges and problems into solutions, all by learning together. How's that sound? Good, because today's topic is how can DevOps help financial service organisations keep pace with this ever-evolving digital market? And I want to explore how financial services is benefiting from DevOps in a huge way right now, and how the financial service industry is not slow to adapt at all. In fact, it's actually taking the lead in speeding up innovation and adopting modern software delivery practices such as Agile, continuous delivery, and DevOps. So I invited friend of the show, Dinesh, onto the podcast today, who's also the president of a company called Mphasis. And he's got 20 years of cross-functional leadership experience spanning strategy, technology, innovation, merger and acquisitions, marketing, and has been instrumental in catalyzing Mphasis' growth through focus in delivering business value and delighting customers. In a world where technology-based solutions are sometimes just looking for a problem to solve, I love the fact that they're actually delivering that business value and delighting customers from the outset. And under Dinesh's leadership, Mphasis has transformed its solution and service portfolio that have enabled core businesses to grow faster than the actual industry. He lives in Silicon Valley, but Dinesh is currently waiting in London here in the UK to speak with us. So let me beam your ears over there now, so you too can be a part of today's conversation. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi, everyone. This is Dinesh Venugopalat here. I'm president of Mphasis. I run the digital transformation practice for Mphasis as well. So we, as Mphasis, we help companies make their digital transformation. So enterprise customers have legacy systems and they want to move to a newer model, and Mphasis is the company to work with. And that's what I do for a living.
And one of the things I love talking about on this podcast is busting a few myths and also exploring areas that we don't hear much about. And for most people listening, I don't think that they will automatically think about the relationship between DevOps and financial services. And that's one of the reasons I was excited to get you on today. So can you expand on how financial services is actually benefiting from DevOps in a big way right now?
So let me to talk about DevOps first. I must talk about what's happening in the marketplace with respect to financial service institutions. So they no longer see their peers as competition. They look at new age fintechs, newer banks, and they're providing to be a big disruptor in the marketplace. So, for example, banks like Klarna or companies like Lemonade have adopted a cloud-first, digital-first approach, and they're completely disrupting their own industries. And even in our own industry, where in North America, you can see that when Charles Schwab announced their robo-advisor product, within months, they were able to bring that to the market. And you can make these kinds of innovation and disruption only if you change the way new products are brought into the marketplace. And that's how DevOps helps. In the traditional model, you start with your requirements phase, and you start working with your product teams and what the next features model should look like. And lo and behold, after 12 to 18 months, your product release and a new set of features come into the market. But if you really look at the born in the cloud companies, they're able to do many releases a day. So for large organizations and legacy organizations, how do you move from this traditional model of software development and building our products to this new model of getting products out in a very, very quick way? And that's where DevOps comes in a big way. And traditionally, when you think about large financial service organizations, you might think that they are not speeding up the innovation, but you can see that more often than not, you can see that the products are coming out much faster in the marketplace. And that's how the whole concept of DevOps is, how you help organizations make that shift from traditional software development to a much more faster release cycle is what you see companies adopt today. And to give you an example, Jamie Dimon recently, a few years ago, said about his company that the thing to watch out most is Silicon Valley is coming, right? And that's why many of the large financial services who have the package of legacy and technology debt have to adopt DevOps. And DevOps has really changed the way they're building and delivering products to the marketplace.
And the pace of technological change is moving at breakneck speed now, and there's a lot of businesses talking about the struggle of keeping up. But on the flip side of that, the reality is technological change is never going to move this slow again as it continues to speed up. So how can DevOps help financial services organizations keep pace with that ever-evolving digital market, do you think?
See, first of all, I think, one of the things that the financial services organizations have to work out is the regulatory impact, right? It's a big moat that they have to cross before any of those processes they have internally are sped up, right? And that's where DevOps and DevSecOps comes in the picture, where the role of security, which was isolated to a specific team in the final stage of development, is no longer the case. This was a problematic when development cycles lasted months or years, but now those days are over. So effective DevOps ensures that rapid and frequent development cycles, which are like days now, and outdated security practice can undo even the most efficient DevOps initiative. So I think DevOps is changing the way software is built, security is built in now to the development cycle, and that's completely changing the way that financial service organizations are now building and delivering product. And that's how DevOps is helping. They put an entire process where you're bringing the development cycle and the operation cycle together to have an efficient model for delivering software.
And like I said a few moments ago, I do love busting myths on this show. And for a while, the financial industry had this big reputation for being slow to change. But can you tell me more about how you think that the financial service industry is actually taking the lead in speeding up innovation?
Right. So if you really look at what's happened in the marketplace, consumers are demanding an Amazon, Netflix-like experience from everyone, including financial services, which means that they have to start looking at products and technologies that will give the same experience. For example, one of the wealth management companies that we work with as a model for crowdsourcing what their peers are investing in, right? So the data is completely anonymized. So suppose you're a 25-year-old looking to invest in, and you're just making a new investment in, you want to know how either people within your same organization or similar 25-year-olds are investing. So if you have the data available to you, you can see how that completely plays out. Right. So this whole concept of how you marry the external data of what's happening in social media with the internal data in a regulatory compliant way is something that banks and other financial service organizations are starting to do. And you can see that really dramatically changing the user experience for most, especially the new generation, are looking to invest in a very, very simple, easy way. That's one example, right? Another example is, if you look at, traditional travel insurance, you take a traditional travel insurance with a company and you say going to Disneyland, and there is a measles outbreak in Disneyland. Traditionally, what happens is that the company gives you the insurance, moves on, doesn't use the data for anything else. You come back, you file a claim. Otherwise, never hear from them again. But if you really know that you're going to Disneyland and there's a measles outbreak, you can probably alert the insuree that this is happening and here's what we needed. So for that, you have to marry the social data, the contextual data that's happening in the location that you're traveling to with the internal data, what you're insured against. And that's kind of merged from external internal data was quite, unlikely many years ago. But now companies are starting to bring those data together. Another example of how companies are innovating. So you might think that financial service institutions, especially because of the regulatory reason, the regulatory mode is a tough one to climb out. But they are doing pockets of innovation. And then very soon, this is going to be across the board, in my opinion.
And am I also right in saying that DevOps is also utilized as a resource for security efforts rather than a threat in the world of finance? Is that right?
Absolutely. I think what DevOps, DevSecOps as is known, resonates very well with financial services organizations. As you know, it is one of the most regulated industries anywhere. And for FinServ wanting to leverage cloud well, it's of critical importance the security practices are not only comprehensive, but also very well automated. And that need to bring security to be integrated, an integral part of DevOps is essential for success. What has happened in the past is that security was usually isolated to a final stage of development. That's not the case anymore, and it's problematic as well when, like you said earlier, if development cycles last for a very long time, then you see that that security it plays only a part in the end. But now with releases happening every day, you need to make sure that security practices are very much tied into your entire operations. And that's something that DevSecOps does really well. And we do a terrific job of that across the industry. So you can see that, DevOps is not only utilized as a resource for speeding up your delivery cycles and getting releases out in a timely manner, but also as a resource for security efforts.
And I've also been reading recently about the usage of traditional IT models and how that's causing regulatory hurdles for many financial firms now. So can you expand on the problem that caused many financial service firms to go on a quest to go out there and upgrade their technical infrastructure, both at the back end and the front end, to try and overcome that challenge?
So one of the challenges, like I mentioned earlier, the consumer behavior is changing dramatically, which means that financial service organizations need to bring in change back to the consumer and the experience back to the consumer in a very, very quick way. On the other hand, they have legacy systems which are slow to move. What do you do? So we have a concept called front to back transformation. The idea here is that without modernizing the core, which takes usually years to do, you can deliver the same experience to your consumers or customers by building two layers, what we call an intelligent layer above your core. So over a period of time, you start pulling your logic and intelligence into the intelligence layer. And this intelligence layer now speaks with an engagement layer, which is how you engage with the customer, thereby being able to bring change very quickly to the marketplace. Right. And over a period of time, you can start shrinking the core and start delivering the modernization that you need on the core. And that means that's not need to happen right away. So this whole concept is called front to back transformation. And these front to back transformation can be accomplished only if you do completely a DevOps based model. So digital changes are accomplished better with DevOps and creates a positive impact on the KPIs in a shorter cycle. So when you're building technology, you're not looking at just building technology, but you're starting with the end customer in mind and saying that if this is what the end customer wants to do, how will we speeden up the process and what KPIs would the customers be interested in, and start working that through. And that whole concept of front to back transformation is completely enabled by the DevOps model.
And I think for many people listening, on the surface, they'll see that legacy organizations are busy modernizing those back-end processes and systems to support today's digital age. But if you dare to look behind the curtain or look underneath the hood to what's really going on, can you tell me how it's actually a little bit more about how it's actually DevOps that's changing the game here?
So if you look at a company that is traditionally operating out of, say, a mainframe-like environment, those systems are built for scale. They can process hundreds of thousands of transactions in a very resilient, predictive, and reliable way. So the focus is on reliability, predictability, and resilience. The ability to come out of a problem very quickly is defined as resilience. But these systems are not made for changing or delivering new features or functionality. So the concept of DevOps, when applied to these systems, would change the way products are being built. And that's why I said that the front to back transformation, where you actually start building an intelligent layer in front of these systems using the DevOps capabilities and bringing the operations and product development together, will help speeden up the entire DevOps process. And that's what we are helping our customers with. There are several examples of how, by bringing this value proposition to bear, you can actually drive a lot of change in the organization as well. So I think the one way to look at this is DevOps is a good, because it requires a cultural change in the organization. It's just not a process or a methodology, but it's also a cultural change, how you build and deliver software. And that's how this becomes a good way to change your legacy behavior in organizations.
I'm quite conscious we've delved quite deep into the world of DevOps here, but we've not mentioned too much about Mphasis. So I've got to ask, for everyone listening, what is Mphasis Stelligent, and how is it helping financial service organizations make that digital pivot that we're talking about here?
So Mphasis Stelligent is a leading DevSecOps provider, and we have successfully accelerated implementation of the same for large financial service organizations. So what happens through Stelligent is that Mphasis customers benefit from our team of experts and rich expertise in these areas like cloud scale, security, and automation and DevOps practices. And we have great examples of how we have helped our customers make this shift. For example, in one of a large banks, we have a continuous delivery model that was quite challenging for this large enterprise. What Stelligent did was we worked with Amazon Web Services, and together we brought these set of capabilities which was missing in this large bank, and figure out a way so they can securely do development in the cloud. So that's what Stelligent does. It's a terrific organization that is focused on building, helping customers make this DevOps shift and transformation.
So looking into the future, how big a role do you think this and automation is actually going to play in the future of finance? Because we're already seeing big changes here, aren't we?
Absolutely. I think DevOps has been witnessing a rapid adoption across industries. And if you look at the industry trends as per the DevOps reports, the technology industry, obviously, because most of them are born in the cloud companies, have almost like a 40% adoption of DevOps. And financial services was about 12 to 15%. I see that the change, rapid pace of adoption, which is happening in pockets, will completely transform the way software is being built and delivered in financial service organizations. And with the DevSecOps in place, I think it'll also help these organizations get over the regulatory hurdles that they need to do before they deliver value to their customers. I think we believe that the increased adoption and ever-growing potential of DevOps will transform the way financial services deliver products in the future.
And something else that I read recently, and I thought I've got to ask you this on today's show, is how you learned a lot from the Spotify model as a tech company. Is that something you can expand on, and the lesson that you learned for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that what is known as the Spotify model of agile development, called the Tribe Squad model. And the idea is that you build your development organization by focusing on creating groups called tribes, and within the tribes, which are focused on building certain set of capabilities, we have squads which gets deployed to build scalable software over a period of time. What we did was something slightly different. We adopted that model for go-to-market, right, as we interact with the customers. So we organize ourselves around tribes and squads. We organize us around 8 tribes that we feel are the best way to deliver our value to our customers. Examples of tribes are, one, we just spoke about modernization. So modernization is a tribe with an emphasis. And within that the tribe, we have the development squad, we have the product squad, we have the delivery squad, we have the agile squads. All of these different squads come together to start delivering the modernization value proposition to the customers. We believe we are unique because one of the few people who have adopted the agile DevOps model to go to market and how we interact with our customers. So what happens is that our ability to quickly assemble teams to service our customers is increased dramatically over the last year or so since we adopted this model. And I'm very happy that we have taken a concept that is applied to technology delivery and applied to a completely different context of how we deliver services to our customer.
Well, a huge thanks for coming on the podcast today. Before I let you go, though, I am conscious we've covered so much ground today. And for anyone listening that wants to carry on this conversation that we started today, what's the best way of finding you online and also contacting your team if anybody does have any additional questions?
Sure. You can reach me at dinesh.venugopal@mphasis.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn at dinesh.venugopal.
Excellent. Well, I love how you're working in a highly regulated industries that do have a reputation for being traditionally slow to adapt to change, but how Mphasis Stelligent is actually helping those same financial service organizations make the digital pivot that they need to thrive and survive in a digital world. So thanks so much for coming on and sharing that story with me today. I really appreciate it. Thanks again.
Thanks again, Neil. Appreciate the questions.
We don't talk about topics like this enough, as mainstream media, from what I can see, only focuses on those sexy buzzwords and new devices. But the fact is, DevOps is enabling financial services to increase the quality of application releases while also addressing governance, risk, security, and compliance strategies. It might not be a sexy subject, but it is crucial. And DevOps in the financial service industry in particular has also demonstrated that the method mitigates potential security problems and actually helps organisations discover issues and address threats more quickly. And while financial services continue expanding their digital capabilities, the ability to deliver new software-based services efficiently is becoming extremely critical. And legacy organisations have been busy modernising those back-end processes and systems to support today's digital age. But in addition to those legacy systems and code, they're facing concerns around mitigating risk for better security, complying with regulations and meeting government's requirements. That list goes on, and all of which makes software innovation a complex and slow process. And these are all problems I expect that every single person listening to this podcast know all too well. But that is why I invited Dinesh from Mphasis on the podcast today, to explore different solutions to those challenges and different ways of thinking. But that's the part that me and Dinesh have played in today's conversation. Now I'd like to throw the microphone over to you. Your challenges, your solutions, your insights, your experiences. If you want to come on this podcast, whatever it is, this is your chance to be a part of the conversation too. And you can email me directly, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram is just Neil C. Hughes. I'm nice and easy to find there. And if you'd like to work with me or browse through over 1,100 podcast episodes, simply pop by my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. Now, I genuinely appreciate every single person that's listened to these podcasts and also got this far in today's episode, because I am conscious that I send a lot of episodes to your podcast feeds every week, and the fact that you tune in and listen means the world to me. So I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. But a big heartfelt thanks for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.